The city of Varion never truly slept. Its skyways glowed with soft blue light, hovering vehicles hummed as they moved in silent patterns, and towering spires reached high into clouds lit with neon streaks. Despite all this life, tucked away beneath the grand avenues and above-ground marketplaces, there was a small workshop that few ever noticed. It was in the shadow of a massive orbital tower, its sign flickering occasionally with the words, A. Mason, Mechanical Repairs. Inside that quiet workshop, a young human named Alex worked diligently. His hands were stained with oil, and his clothes carried the faint smell of machinery. Around him, dozens of parts, gears, circuits, and strange alien devices were scattered across tables and shelves. But Alex did not mind the clutter. He thrived in it. Tonight, like many nights before, Alex was focused on a broken service drone. It was an older model, rarely used by the city's wealthy residents, but it had potential. He carefully adjusted a circuit, then examined a sensor with a magnifying glass. "This should work," Alex whispered to himself, rubbing his forehead with a smudged hand. "Just a little tweak here, and maybe—" Suddenly, the drone's lights flickered. It whirred to life and then stuttered, jerking forward before falling to the ground. Sparks flew. Alex leapt back instinctively, heart pounding. "Not again!" he shouted. "Come on! Focus!" He quickly grabbed his toolkit and began replacing the damaged component, his hands moving fast but precise. Sweat glistened on his forehead. Outside, the city continued its constant hum, oblivious to the small drama in this quiet workshop. Unbeknownst to Alex, he was being watched. High above the streets, in a hidden viewing platform only accessible to a select few, a figure observed him. She moved gracefully, almost floating, dressed in robes that shimmered faintly. Her dark eyes were wide with curiosity, and a small smile played on her lips as she watched Alex work. Liara, the Empress of Varian, had slipped out of her palace that evening. The city was her home, yet it felt so different from the golden halls she was used to. She often wondered about life outside her royal duties, about the world beyond her carefully controlled existence. Tonight, drawn by a mix of curiosity and longing, she had wandered into the outskirts of the city, where the air smelled of machinery and ozone. Her attention was immediately captured by Alex. Humans were rare on Varian, and she had never seen one with such dedication and focus. Unlike the alien engineers she knew, who followed instructions perfectly but rarely experimented, Alex moved with a kind of confident creativity. He did not just fix the machine, he tried to understand it, to make it better. Liara watched as Alex paused, examined a component, and then scribbled a quick note on a scrap piece of metal. His brow furrowed, eyes sharp and thoughtful. The Empress leaned closer, fascinated. "How does he know what to do?" she whispered to herself. "He has no formal training, yet he works like a master." Alex didn't notice her. He was too focused on the drone in front of him, unaware of the silent presence above. He tested a small circuit again, and the drone spun briefly before jerking violently. Sparks flew, this time more dangerously, and Alex jumped aside. "Whoa! Okay, maybe not like that," he muttered, quickly moving to prevent the sparks from causing more damage. Liara's lips twitched into a smile. She had expected precision, but she also saw something beautiful in the way he handled mistakes. Unlike many who would panic, he adapted. He was quick, smart, and brave. Suddenly, there was a loud pop. A small fire ignited on the table, and the drone's power core glowed red. Alex's eyes widened. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, sprayed it carefully, and doused the flames. Smoke curled around him, and he coughed lightly, but he was unharmed. Liara's eyes softened. She could have intervened directly and stopped the malfunction immediately, but something in her told her to let him handle it. Humans, she realized, had a resilience that was rare among her own people. They adapted, learned, and grew stronger in ways aliens could not. After a tense moment, Alex breathed heavily, leaning against the workbench. The drone lay on the floor, slightly bent, but functional again. "Phew. Okay, back to work," he said with determination. He adjusted the last wire, pressed a button, and the drone hummed to life. Its lights blinked steadily, and it hovered smoothly above the table. Alex's eyes lit up with excitement. "Yes, finally!" he exclaimed. From her hidden perch, Liara allowed herself a small laugh. She had expected something impressive, but even she was surprised at the way Alex had managed to solve the problem. There was creativity, patience, and courage in every movement, traits she admired deeply. For the next few minutes, Alex tested the drone, noting its improvements, and then scribbled down ideas for further enhancements. Liara watched silently, captivated by the simple dedication of this human. Then, just as Alex leaned over to pick up another part, the drone shuddered unexpectedly. Its power core began to overload again, brighter this time. Sparks flew dangerously close to Alex's hand. Without thinking, Liara extended her hand slightly. A faint shimmer of energy emerged, invisible to Alex, and stabilized the drone. It stopped shaking, lights steady once more. Alex froze, staring at the drone. "How? I didn't—" He looked around but saw no one. Shaking his head, he muttered, "Must be my imagination." Liara retreated, her curiosity deepened. She realized she could have revealed herself, but she chose not to. This way, she could watch him learn, grow, and succeed on his own, without interference. By the time the city's clock tower chimed midnight, Alex had fixed the drone completely. He packed up his tools, carefully noting down the steps he had taken, and whispered to himself, "Tomorrow. Better. Smarter. Everything better." As he left the workshop, he didn't notice the faint shimmer of a figure disappearing into the shadows above. Liara lingered a moment longer, her mind racing. This human fascinated her. He was small, seemingly ordinary, but there was something extraordinary in his mind and spirit. She had spent her whole life among people who feared failure, who never dared to try new ideas, who followed orders without question. Alex was different. He dared to experiment, to imagine, to create. She realized something profound. Perhaps humans were capable of things even her people could not achieve. Perhaps they could change the world. As the wind carried the sounds of the city below, Liara made a quiet decision. She would learn more about this human. Not as an empress, not as a ruler, but as someone curious about the potential of a mind unlike her own. For Alex, the night had been long, tiring, and full of small victories. He locked the workshop, unaware that someone very powerful had witnessed his determination. He walked through the neon-lit streets, lost in thought, dreaming of machines he could build, improvements he could make, inventions that could change lives. And somewhere above him, hidden in the shadows, Liara followed silently. She had stepped into a world she did not fully understand, drawn by curiosity, and she was not about to turn back. The night ended quietly, but the spark had been lit. A spark that would grow, transforming not just the lives of a young human mechanic, but the life of an empress as well. Little did either of them know, the encounter tonight would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge rules, inspire courage, and bridge the gap between two very different worlds. As the city slept, or pretended to, the first threads of a remarkable story were already weaving together, invisible yet unbreakable. The city of Varian was alive with its usual hum, even as the first rays of dawn painted the sky in pale shades of blue and pink. High above, skyways glimmered like threads of light, and hovering vehicles moved silently along their paths. Yet in a small corner of the city, the quiet workshop of Alex Mason remained untouched by the early rush of citizens. Alex arrived early, carrying a coffee cup in one hand and a small notebook in the other. The drone he had repaired last night rested on a workbench, its lights blinking softly. He smiled as he examined it, remembering the sparks and the sudden danger of the previous night. "Still alive, little guy," he murmured. "Good, that's progress." As he prepared to start his work, a shadow moved across the street outside the workshop. Alex paused, frowning. Varian was crowded, yet this part of the city rarely saw visitors at this hour. He squinted through the window, but saw nothing unusual. Shrugging, he returned to his work, unaware of the figure that had been watching him the night before. High above, hidden among the balconies and the shadows of nearby buildings, Liara observed. Dressed simply to avoid attention, she watched Alex with fascination. His hands moved with confidence, repairing, adjusting, and improving the small machines he loved. She noticed the care he took with each component, the way he analyzed and solved problems instinctively. This human, he is remarkable, Liara whispered to herself. So simple. Yet, his mind is extraordinary. She had returned tonight intentionally. The previous night had left a spark of curiosity in her that would not be ignored. She wanted to see how he worked, how he thought, and perhaps what he dreamed. As Alex reached for a new component, he froze. Something felt different. A small tool on his table had been adjusted slightly, moved from its original spot. He frowned. No, I don't remember moving this, he said softly. Liara remained hidden, careful not to reveal herself. Yet she was aware that her presence, even subtle, might be noticed. She had moved the tool slightly to see if he would respond, curious about his attention to detail. Alex's brow furrowed, but then he shook his head and continued working. Still, a part of him felt a strange awareness, as though someone or something was observing him. Hours passed. Alex tested circuits, assembled small drones, and scribbled notes. Each task was accompanied by thoughtful pauses, moments where he examined his work with a critical eye. Liara continued to watch silently, growing more fascinated with every passing minute. By mid-morning, a small commotion in the street below caught Alex's attention. A service bot, carrying supplies for a nearby market, had malfunctioned. It spun erratically, threatening to collide with a group of pedestrians. Without hesitation, Alex ran outside, dodging debris and quickly accessing the bot's control panel. His fingers flew across the interface, inputting corrections with a mix of instinct and skill. The bot's movement stabilized, and it returned to its intended path, avoiding anyone in its way. From above, Liara's eyes shone with admiration. Humans were not just clever, they had courage too. Unlike many of her own people, who would hesitate or wait for authority, this human acted. He was brave, quick-thinking, and selfless, all at once. Alex returned to his workshop, breathless but smiling. "Good job, Mason," he said to himself. "Not bad for a human." He did not notice the soft footsteps outside his door. When he looked up, a young woman stood there, her features partly hidden beneath a simple hood. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity and intelligence. "Hello," she said, her voice calm yet full of warmth. I wanted to see your work." Alex blinked, surprised. Hi, you're watching me?" The woman smiled. "Yes, I am fascinated by how you work. I've never seen anyone approach machines the way you do." Alex's eyes narrowed slightly, a mix of curiosity and caution. "Are you an engineer? A student? Someone from the guild?" She shook her head. "No, just someone curious. Like you." Alex paused, studying her. There was something different about her, a presence that felt unusual, yet she did not seem threatening. Slowly, he relaxed. "Well, I guess curiosity is a good start," he said. "I'm Alex, and you are?" "I'm Liara," she replied simply. "I like to learn about things, about people, about how the world works." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Liara, all right. Well, if you're here to watch, that's fine. But machines are tricky. They don't always behave the way you expect." Liara nodded eagerly. "I want to understand. Can you show me?" For the first time that day, Alex smiled broadly. "Sure, follow me." They spent the morning going through the workshop. Alex explained the drones he had been repairing, the adjustments he made, and the thought process behind each step. Liara listened intently, asking questions that were both simple and insightful. "What happens if you change this component?" she asked, pointing to a small sensor. Alex thought for a moment, then adjusted the component slightly. "It might improve efficiency, or it could overload the system. You have to test carefully." They tested it, and the drone responded better than before. Liara's eyes widened in delight. You did it, she exclaimed. You really thought it through? Alex laughed lightly. It's not just me, machines have rules. You just need to understand them. And sometimes, be willing to try new things. Liara nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. I wish more people thought that way. Alex tilted his head. Why? You seem different. Not many people notice the small stuff or care about how things work. Liara hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. I like to notice, to understand. That's all. As they worked together, a small bond formed between them. Liara admired Alex's ingenuity, patience, and kindness. Alex, in turn, appreciated her curiosity, intelligence, and the way she genuinely wanted to learn, rather than judge. Time passed quickly. Hours slipped by, and soon the sun was high in the sky. Alex realized that he had been talking and working with Liara almost continuously since morning. You've got a lot of questions, he said with a grin. Most people wouldn't even bother to learn. They just want things done for them. Liara smiled softly. I want to learn, and I want to see the world differently. People like you change how I see things. Alex felt a warmth in his chest. There was something comforting about the way she spoke, honest and thoughtful. He nodded. Well, maybe humans and people like you can learn from each other. Makes the world better. Just then, a loud clanging noise came from outside. A construction drone had lost control near the main street, dangerously close to civilians. Without hesitation, Alex grabbed his tools and ran outside. Liara followed quickly, her eyes wide with concern. The drone spun erratically, sparks flying as it bumped into a small barricade. Alex assessed the situation instantly. I can stabilize it, he shouted to Liara. He adjusted the drone's control panel, rerouting its energy and recalibrating its sensors. The machine responded slowly at first, then stabilized, hovering safely above the street. People nearby cheered and applauded quietly, grateful for the quick action. Liara watched, amazed. He saved them? She whispered, just instinctively. Alex noticed her expression and smiled briefly, then returned to the drone, making minor adjustments to ensure it was completely safe. All done. That should hold it for now. Liara felt a deep respect for him. She realized that humans were not just clever. They were resilient, courageous, and creative in ways that her world often lacked. As the day wore on, Alex and Liara returned to the workshop. They talked about machines, ideas, and dreams. Alex shared stories of his childhood, growing up fascinated by how things worked, always taking them apart and putting them back together. Liara listened, intrigued by his simplicity and honesty. You've got a rare mind, she said finally. Most people don't think the way you do. They follow instructions, but they don't imagine. Alex shrugged. I just like to figure things out. I don't think it's rare, just fun. Liara smiled. Maybe it is rare. And maybe it's important. As evening approached, Liara prepared to leave, but she felt a strange hesitation. She had spent the whole day with Alex, learning and sharing, yet she had not revealed her true identity. The thought of returning to her palace, resuming her duties, felt almost unbearable. I should go, she said softly. But I'll come back, if that's okay. Alex looked up, slightly confused but pleased. Sure, you can come back anytime. I don't usually get visitors, curious ones at least. Liara smiled, a small secret hidden in her eyes. I'll see you soon, Alex. She left quietly, melting into the shadows of the city. Alex, unaware of who she truly was, returned to his workbench, his mind buzzing with excitement and curiosity. There was something about her intelligence, her kindness, her curiosity, that made him want to build more, learn more, and be better. High above, Liara paused, watching the city lights twinkle as evening fell. She felt a shift inside her, a spark of inspiration she could not ignore. This human had shown her a glimpse of something rare, something extraordinary. And she knew, without fully understanding why, that her life, and the empire she led, would never be the same. The Palace of Varian was unlike anything Alex had ever imagined. Towering walls of crystal reflected the sunlight in sparkling patterns, while gardens floated in midair, their plants held aloft by advanced anti-gravity technology. Bridges connected different wings of the palace, each lined with glowing stones that pulsed gently like the heartbeat of the city itself. Alex could hardly believe he was here. Only a day ago, he had been in his quiet workshop, tinkering with a drone that sparked and hissed in his hands. Now, he had been invited to the palace, an opportunity that seemed impossible. Liara had insisted on keeping her identity hidden at first, claiming that she wanted Alex to understand the world from her people's perspective. But as they ascended the palace's grand elevator, she grew quiet, thoughtful. Alex noticed her unusual silence. "You seem different today," he said, watching her. "More serious." Liara smiled faintly, almost nervously. "Some things are hard to explain until the time is right." They entered a large room filled with tables and holographic screens, all displaying the city's systems, energy grids, transportation networks, communication lines, and even the environmental controls. Liara led Alex to a workstation and gestured toward the displays. "These are the main systems of the city," she said. "They've been stable for a long time, but there are problems. Complex problems that no one has been able to solve." Alex's eyes widened. "You want me to help?" Liara nodded. "I want you to look at them the way you look at machines, with creativity, with human perspective. I trust you more than anyone here." Alex hesitated. This was beyond anything he had ever done. The systems were vast, far beyond the simple drones he worked on. But he also felt a surge of excitement. This was a challenge, one that could make a real difference. He approached the displays, examining the networks and reading the data. Unlike the alien engineers who followed strict protocols, Alex started thinking in patterns and possibilities. He imagined the flow of energy like water through pipes, each interruption or malfunction like a blockage that needed removing. "This section," he said, pointing to a glowing line on a grid, "it's unstable because the nodes aren't communicating correctly. If we reroute the flow temporarily while reinforcing the nodes, it could balance out." Liara leaned closer. "Explain in human terms." Alex smiled. "Think of it like teamwork. Each node has to cooperate. Right now, some are ignoring instructions. If we adjust the connections, everything will work together naturally. Simple, but it works." Liara's eyes widened in surprise. "I never thought of it that way. You're remarkable." Just as Alex began implementing his ideas, the doors to the room opened, and several palace advisors entered. They were tall, imposing figures with strict robes and piercing eyes. Their expressions turned cold when they saw Alex. "Your Majesty," one of them said, bowing slightly to Liara. "Who is this human?" Liara's expression hardened slightly, but she remained calm. "This is Alex Mason. He has unique insight that can help our city's systems. I trust him." The advisors exchanged skeptical glances. "Your Majesty, humans are unpredictable. Their knowledge is limited. How can we allow such a being access to the palace systems?" Alex felt a flash of nervousness but stood tall. "I understand your concerns. I may be human, but I know how to study and fix problems. Give me a chance. You'll see the results." One advisor sneered. "We follow protocol. We do not gamble with the city's safety." Liara's voice was firm. "I am the Empress. I decide who contributes. Alex is allowed to work here." The advisor's eyes narrowed, but they bowed reluctantly. "As you command, Your Majesty." Once they left, Liara turned to Alex. "Some will resist. You must understand that. But I believe in you. That is what matters." Alex nodded, taking a deep breath. "All right, let's do this." They worked together for hours. Alex analyzed the energy grids, communication networks, and transportation lines. He discovered small flaws, overlooked by even the most skilled alien engineers, and proposed simple but effective solutions. For example, he noticed that one section of the city's energy grid relied on a single primary node. If it failed, an entire district could lose power. He suggested distributing the load across multiple nodes and installing a backup system. Liara marveled at the simplicity and efficiency of his solution. "You're not just thinking like a human," she said quietly. "You're thinking differently. Something my people have forgotten." Alex smiled. "Sometimes it's just about looking at the problem from another angle. Machines, systems, they all have patterns. You just need to notice them." Liara felt a strange sense of relief. For years, she had struggled with palace duties, endless decisions, and political games. Here was someone who saw the world clearly, without fear or hesitation. Someone who reminded her that solutions didn't always have to be complicated. Just as they completed a plan for the city's main energy grid, an alarm sounded. A minor explosion had occurred in one of the lower districts. Alex and Liara rushed to the viewing panels. The display showed smoke rising from a section of the manufacturing area. Small robotic units were malfunctioning, spinning out of control. Liara tensed. Alex studied the situation quickly. "It's the new assembly line. The programming is conflicting with the older systems. We can fix it, but it will require rerouting power temporarily and manually controlling some units." Liara nodded. "Do it." Working together, they sent commands, rerouted energy, and stabilized the machines. Within minutes, the situation was under control. The alarm stopped, and the city's systems returned to normal. Liara exhaled slowly. "You saved lives today, Alex. Not just machines." Alex shrugged. "I just fixed what I could. Anyone would do the same." Liara's eyes softened. "No, most would not. You acted instinctively, bravely, and wisely. That is rare." As evening fell, Liara decided it was time to reveal the truth. She led Alex to a balcony overlooking the city, the lights twinkling like stars brought down to earth. "Alex," she said quietly, "there is something I must tell you. I have not been completely honest." Alex looked at her. Curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" Liara took a deep breath. "I am the Empress of this city. I have been in disguise because I wanted to see the world from a different perspective. I wanted to understand the people I lead." Alex's eyes widened. For a moment, he couldn't speak. The woman who had been quietly curious, kind, and brilliant was the ruler of the entire city? It was almost unbelievable. You're the Empress?" he finally asked. Liara nodded. "Yes, but today you've worked with me as equals, and I want you to continue. Your ideas, your perspective, it is valuable. More valuable than you realize." Alex ran a hand through his hair, stunned. Wow, I mean, I don't know what to say. This is incredible." Liara smiled softly. "Say that you will continue to help me. That you will use your skills not just for your own workshop, but for the city, for its people." Alex thought for a moment, then nodded firmly. I will. I want to help. And if my ideas can make things better, then yes, I'll do it." Liara's expression brightened. "Good, that is all I needed to hear." However, palace life was not simple. As word of Alex's involvement spread, whispers began. Some advisors admired his talent, but others feared the influence of a human in the palace. They questioned Liara's judgment and plotted to challenge her decisions. Alex noticed the tension immediately. "Liara, they don't trust me. Some of them even seem hostile." Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know. That is why we must be careful. But your talent is undeniable. Results will speak for themselves. And I trust you completely." Over the next days, Alex worked tirelessly, analyzing systems, repairing minor malfunctions, and proposing improvements. Slowly, the skeptical advisors began to notice his skill. Machines ran smoother, energy grids were more stable, and small crises were resolved before they could escalate. Still, some remained wary. A human cannot understand the complexity of our empire, one whispered. What if he makes a mistake? Liara overheard, her eyes narrowing. He has already saved the city multiple times. His perspective is unique. I will not allow fear to blind me. Alex, unaware of the political tension, continued his work with focus and determination. For him, it was about solving problems, not court politics. He experimented, learned quickly, and inspired others to look at systems differently. One evening, after a long day, Alex and Liara stood together on the palace balcony again. The city stretched below them, glowing softly in the night. You know, Liara said quietly, I have led this city for many years. But today, I have learned more than I thought possible. From you, Alex smiled. And I've learned from you too. You're incredible. Not just as a ruler, but as someone who listens, who thinks, who cares. Liara's eyes softened. Perhaps that is what humans bring. Perspective, courage, and creativity. Things my people have forgotten. Alex laughed lightly. Maybe, or maybe it's just me, but I hope we can keep working together. There's so much more to improve. Liara nodded. We will. Together we can make this city stronger, smarter, better. As the wind blew gently across the balcony, the two of them stood side by side, looking at the glowing city. Both knew that challenges lay ahead, but also that their partnership, human ingenuity and royal insight, was capable of achieving extraordinary things. The night ended quietly, but a new era had begun. Alex, the human mechanic, was no longer just a visitor to this city. He was a part of its transformation. And Liara, the Empress, had discovered that leadership could be strengthened not just by power, but by trust, curiosity, and the brilliance of an unexpected friend. The city of Varion glimmered under a soft, golden sunrise, its floating gardens, skyways, and towers reflecting the light in endless patterns. From the palace balcony, Liara watched the city she ruled, feeling a mixture of pride and anticipation. Everything was changing, not because of decrees or orders, but because of an unexpected ally, a human mechanic named Alex Mason. The previous weeks had been full of challenges. Palace advisors who were once skeptical had seen Alex's talent firsthand. His unique perspective, quick thinking, and human creativity had resolved multiple system failures, repaired malfunctioning drones, and even improved the city's energy distribution. Slowly, even the most cautious advisors began to acknowledge his skill. Alex himself had grown in confidence. From the quiet workshop where he had tinkered with small drones, he now worked on citywide systems, bringing practical solutions to complex problems. But despite the accolades and recognition, Alex remained humble. For him, every success was another puzzle solved, another machine working properly, another life made a little easier. Are you ready for today? Liara asked, turning toward him as he adjusted a floating control panel. Alex glanced up, smiling. I think so. The upgrades you approved yesterday should stabilize the northern energy grids. After that, we can run tests on the transportation network. Liara nodded. Good. Today is important. People are noticing the improvements. We have a chance to show that humans can contribute in ways no one imagined. Alex chuckled lightly. Well, I'm just doing what I know how to do. Liara smiled, remembering the first night she had seen him working alone in his small workshop. So much had changed since then. He had transformed the city, and in turn, he had changed her perspective on leadership. The first test of the day was the northern energy grid. A team of engineers, once skeptical of Alex's ideas, watched closely as he analyzed the system. With clear instructions and simple adjustments, Alex guided them to reroute energy flows, reinforce key nodes, and balance the network. Within minutes, the previously unstable grid stabilized completely. Lights flickered back on in districts that had suffered intermittent outages for years. People cheered quietly in the streets, grateful for the reliability. One senior advisor approached Liara, still hesitant but impressed. Your Majesty, the human solution is effective, Perhaps his methods are worth further consideration. Liara nodded, her eyes on Alex. I told you, talent comes in many forms, not just from those born into our world. After the success of the energy grid, Alex turned his attention to the transportation network. Hovering vehicles and delivery drones had been causing delays due to outdated routing algorithms. Alex observed the system, taking note of every minor delay, and proposed simple but effective rerouting strategies. This is like a puzzle, he explained to the engineers. Each vehicle needs a clear path. Blockages create chaos. If we anticipate movements and adjust routes dynamically, traffic will flow smoothly. The engineers hesitated but followed his guidance. Within hours, the city's transportation system ran more efficiently than ever before. Deliveries were on time, traffic jams disappeared, and the people moved with ease. Liara watched with pride. Alex was not only solving technical problems, he was inspiring others to think differently. Even the most rigid engineers began to adopt his approach, experimenting, learning, and innovating. As evening fell, Liara invited Alex to a small council meeting. Palace advisors gathered to discuss future projects, still cautious but eager to hear his perspective. One advisor spoke first. Your Majesty, we have seen remarkable results from Alex Mason. His unconventional methods have stabilized the city's systems. Perhaps it is time to recognize his contributions formally. Liara smiled. Yes, I agree. Alex, you have shown the value of human creativity and courage. You have improved this city, helped its people, and inspired those around you. I am proud to have you as my advisor. Alex blinked, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I just did what I could. I never expected this. Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. What you did was extraordinary. You remind us that sometimes the simplest ideas can solve the greatest problems, and that courage, patience, and determination are more powerful than we realize. The council nodded in agreement, some still skeptical but no longer able to deny the results. Alex had proven himself. The following weeks brought further changes. Alex worked closely with the palace engineers, teaching them human-inspired approaches to problem-solving. Systems ran smoother, maintenance became more efficient, and the city thrived. Beyond technical improvements, something deeper was happening. Liara found herself thinking differently about leadership. She realized that listening, trusting, and empowering others could be as transformative as any law or decree. Alex's humility and brilliance had shown her that collaboration, respect, and curiosity were as vital as power. One evening, as they stood together overlooking the glowing city, Liara spoke softly. Alex, you've changed more than the city. You've changed me. My perspective, my understanding, even my heart. Alex smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. I'm glad, Your Majesty. But I'm just a human. I never imagined I could make such a difference. Liara shook her head. You are more than that. You are a mind, a spirit, a force for good. That is enough. Days turned into weeks, and the empire continued to flourish under the combined guidance of Liara and Alex. The once rigid palace advisors grew to respect his insight, and the citizens noticed improvements in everyday life. Energy was reliable, transport was smooth, and machines no longer failed as often. Alex's influence even inspired new projects. He suggested combining human design principles with alien technology to create more efficient drones, cleaner energy sources, and improved city infrastructure. Each innovation was implemented carefully, tested thoroughly, and praised widely. Through it all, Alex remained humble. He spent hours in workshops talking to engineers, teaching them to experiment, to observe, and to learn from mistakes. His patience and encouragement won over even the most skeptical minds. Liara observed him closely. He leads without authority, she said to herself. He teaches without demanding respect. And yet, everyone listens. Everyone learns. One day, Alex introduced a new type of repair drone that could autonomously fix minor system failures in the city. The drone was simple, clever, and effective, exactly the kind of solution Liara admired. This could save lives and resources, she said, watching the drone work seamlessly. Alex shrugged modestly. Just a simple idea, but simple ideas are often the best. Liara smiled. And you, Alex, are extraordinary in your simplicity. As months passed, the city became a model of efficiency, innovation, and collaboration. Citizens marveled at the smoothness of daily life, often unaware that much of the transformation was due to the insights of a human mechanic. For Alex, the rewards were not in recognition or praise. He continued to work tirelessly, inspired by the challenges and motivated by the people who benefited from his ideas. Liara, on the other hand, learned to see the world differently. She discovered that leadership was not only about authority, protocol, or tradition, it was about curiosity, trust, and the courage to embrace new perspectives. One evening, standing together on the palace balcony, they watched the city below. Hovering gardens shimmered in the soft light, vehicles moved with quiet precision, and people walked through streets that were safer and more vibrant than ever before. You know, Liara said quietly, I thought I was the one guiding this city. But you've taught me so much about courage, about creativity, about hope. Alex looked at her, feeling a sense of fulfillment. And you've taught me that even a human can make a difference in a world so different from their own. That trust and collaboration can change everything. Liara nodded. Together, we've transformed this city, and perhaps, together, we can inspire others too. Alex smiled. Then let's keep going. There's always more to improve, more to learn, more to create. Liara placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of partnership, respect, and friendship. Yes, Alex, together. And so, the city of Varion thrived, not only because of advanced technology or strict rules, but because a human mechanic had dared to think differently, and an Empress had dared to trust him. Their partnership became a symbol of possibility, of collaboration across differences, and of the extraordinary potential within every person, human or alien. The Empire had changed, not just in its systems, but in its heart. And Alex and Liara, standing together, knew that this was only the beginning. The story of ingenuity, courage, and transformation would continue. One inspired idea, one brave action, and one shared vision at a time. Under the soft glow of Varion's night, the city pulsed with life. A shining example of what could happen when curiosity met courage, and when humans and aliens worked together for the greater good. And somewhere in the quiet corners of the palace, Alex smiled, already thinking of the next challenge, the next machine, the next improvement. For him, the work was never done, but for the city, and for Liara, it had never been more alive.